Hey, this is Joe Castiglione, and you're listening to Not Another Sox Podcast. Can you believe it?
Buenos noches, amigos, and welcome to an emergency episode of Not Another Sox Podcast. I am Jack Webster here with not Ian Doran, solo today. Breaking news. Late Saturday night here. We have a trade with the Washington Nationals. Connolly Early going to DC in return for Curtis Mead, third baseman slash first baseman from the Washington Nationals here. Did not see this one coming, wanted to, jump on here while kind of getting the instant reaction, kind of getting a lot of the information coming back. It does seem like it's a straight up 1-for-1. Our second trade with Paul Taboni and the Washington Nationals this last year, of course, with the Luis Perales and the Jake Bennett trade earlier. So I think this one is definitely a lot more surprising. It was very weird seeing, the 1-for-1 prospect trade, but yeah, we, are getting a guy that hits a lot of home runs for sure. 17 so far this year. Great right-handed swing for Fenway, but very surprising that they seem very eager to get rid of Connolly Early. Obviously, he has had some injuries, and it does sound like he's coming back throwing already. So I'm sure the Nationals were very comfortable with where he was, that it wasn't going to be like a Tommy John type of thing, which thank God it wasn't. So it is. Unexpected for sure. I think, everybody was looking at a lot of the big middle infielder names in the shortstop market, the catcher market, and a lot of that still might develop. Who knows? Whatever direction that this club might take. But yeah, another one where didn't see this coming. And you can always say this about, Craig Breslow and company is they will keep you guessing. They will make a move at late hours of a Saturday night, and they will leave your head scratching sometimes. But you know what? A lot of cases it has worked out. Craig does have his problems and issues so far, but a lot of the trades, have been successful. So I am willing to wait and see hashtag what might happen, with this and where everybody's going to end up playing, since Mead has been primarily playing third base. And of course, Caleb Durbin earlier today was even saying, like, hey, if you want me to move to second base, I will do that. And, there was the report earlier on this year that Craig Breslow wanted Caleb Durbin to be playing second base and Marcelo Meyer to be playing third, so maybe that was his plan all around. But especially with how good Durbin's defense is, I don't love moving him midseason, especially for a guy that has been pretty poor defensively. If you look at outs above average, very poorly. Defensive runs saved are a little bit better, but there's a lot of upside here still. I mean, I don't want to shit on Curtis Mead, just because he is gonna be a guy that makes the Red Sox better. There's no doubt about that. I mean, you're adding production to your lineup that has lacked a lot of power this year, and he's gonna give you a lot of that. It's a swing made for Fenway. If you go to the Baseball Savant page, there's a lot of red there, and that means he's good, right? Yeah, you don't need to look any deeper for that. But this was a guy that was a former, top prospect, where he is kind of a late bloomer. Still only 25, which, might surprise a lot of people just because you have heard the name for so long. He was a top Rays prospect, so of course, you're always going to hear about that. But there is a lot to like. It's very unexpected, kind of like I've already said here. I am rocking the Australia jersey here, so I am sure friend of the program, Holly at Red Sox Yapper, is very excited about this one. If she's awake right now, I don't even know what time it is over there in Australia, but it is, I think this is just really the start of everything right now. I, don't know what other moves that we're going to make. It definitely seems like we are willing to make, a lot of these difficult moves. There was the, um, rumors or, kind of confirmed at this point today that they're willing to trade Payne Tolley and Franklin Arias for Joe Ryan last year. And Twins are stupid for not doing that, by the way. But it does show that Craig is willing to trade some of these top guys. If you're willing to trade Franklin Arias a year ago, maybe you are willing to trade him for, another centerpiece catcher, or who knows, really, at this point, with some of the directions and some of the, seemingly random trades that Craig Breslow and company do make. So, I think this might just be the tip of the iceberg, and I think that there are gonna be a lot of moves. I like that we're doing something a little early. We're a week and a half out, or week and change out, I guess, and we haven't really seen any big major leaguer moves around MLB yet. So Greg Breslow in a way is setting the market, and it is going to be very much of a seller's market. A lot of teams do think that they're in it. So a team like the Nationals that are like somewhat in it, not really. I'm even a secondary Nationals fan. I love seeing them do well this year, but realistically, I think they know where they're at. I think they know that they're going to be selling like the Foster Griffins and, the not James Woods, probably like CJ Abrams of the world, where it's going to be their long-term vision, but not this year, but like, 27, 28 and moving on forward. So Connolly Early is really going to help them out. They don't have a ton of pitching right now. When your top guy is just some random person that you came over from Japan that was a journeyman, then he is going to be their fixture for the next few years. So I'm sure he'll do well over there. I'm, excited to see what, Paul Taboni has up his sleeve. Obviously, very familiar with his time in Boston with Connolly Early. So I'm sure it's not going to be too unfamiliar with him. He's going to be, able to have a long leash up there. And, he had a pretty good one up here where he was, on the opening day roster. He was an opening day starter for us. And, or not opening day starter, but in the opening, rotation, I should say. So he was a guy that we were depending on this year, and obviously you see the emergence of Payne Tolley, who is looking like a true frontline guy, probably untouchable in any trade. If they trade him now, I don't know what they're doing. And then I think the part that makes you feel very comfortable with the Connolly Early side of it is Jake Bennett. Maybe over these course of like what the 8, 9, maybe even 10 starts from Jake Bennett now, they really are like, hey, this is a guy that we believe in more than Connolly Early in like our own like rankings, or it doesn't matter what the F4 might say or anything like that. Like they might truly just like believe in Jake Bennett enough, or to be like, hey, we'll trade Kyle Harrison for Caleb Durbin, a guy that we need, and that trade's looking a lot better now too. We'll trade Connolly Early for another power bat that we think might help us out, and I think the Caleb Durbin trade is why I'm willing to see how I feel about this once it all plays out, since you never know what it might be in that moment. And of course, doing the live reaction podcast, to kind of see how I'm feeling in this moment. Literally, I'm like processing this real time. I'm like looking up a lot of the data. I'm like, thankfully already like familiar with him and both sides of this. So, It's not like it's a total pop quiz or anything, and doing it solo too. I kind of miss going the back and forth. I don't even know when this might be uploaded, but just kind of want to go out there. We got some people in the chat here. We got Will saying, kind of feels like Christian Arroyo-y. Yeah, a bit. Yeah, hey, he's my twin, so I always like that. I hope it's a little bit more than Christian Arroyo, just because he was a fine, serviceable player during some, quite frankly, bad years. I hope it pans out a little bit better, since I think he's in the minor leagues right now. I think, he's doing his best, but probably a little bit more power potential from Curtis Mead than you would have gotten from Christian Arroyo. And then we also have from Will here, yeah, late bloomer, Red Sox third baseman who's a former top prospect, who they might stick in the outfield. Yeah, I could see it in the outfield too, especially, with Jaron's inconsistencies this year is probably the nicest way to say it. And yeah, you don't know what you might be getting from Roman Anthony. Christian Campbell still the biggest question mark, and thankfully we've seen a little bit of a better July from him, so that adds another just kind of piece to the puzzle of everything. But yeah, Curtis Mead could play all over. He has played second base, so you could stick him there. You could do like a platoon-esque type of thing with Anthony Siegler, who, has his ups and downs, but I think, could still be a good piece to the puzzle for, the remainder of the season. And, kind of almost like, hey, who knows? Maybe he is like a spark plug, like Brock Helt type, where he plays all over and, it's not necessarily every day, but he still gets his X amount of at-bats, especially against, righties, and then he lets somebody like Curtis Mead hit just absolutely mash lefties or something like that. So it'll be very interesting to, see how Chad Tracy uses some of these platoons here. I think he's been very smart about it. I think he is somebody that's going to be able to, manage, obviously, a young player like this. I think, it's going to be sad seeing, Payne Tolley and Connolly Early not be best buds anymore and not be able to, hang out. And, this is a system where over the last, year plus, we've traded a lot of this pitching depth. We've traded, Dick Fitz. We've traded Hunter Dobbins, Kyle Harrison. We've traded away now Connolly Early. So those are four, like major league starters that, have been giving you depth. And, when you don't know when Garrett Crochet might be coming back, you've had some health concerns with Ranger Suarez, but that's kind of been the story of his career, where he'll miss like 5 or 6 starts throughout the season. So I'm not too worried about him. You do have Sonny Gray, who I'm very, happy with. And, obviously not the best start today, but he's going to give you a lot of depth moving forward as I drop a coat hanger over there. Great podcasting. But anyways, I like I was saying before, I think this is just the tip of the iceberg. I'm willing to, kind of see what the corresponding 26-man roster move is, even, just because, you do have Trevor Story hypothetically coming back. You do have, Jahmai Jones that you just picked up. Maybe just throw him to the trash. You don't even worry about that. So you do have an actual 40-man roster spot already open, so you don't have to worry about that, just because I believe we still had one in limbo from when we DFA'd Danny Columbi. Danny Conkenballs. I never learned how to pronounce his actual name, and you know what? He doesn't deserve it anyways. So I don't think we have to make a move for that, and obviously you don't have to, because Connolly Early is also in that trade. I don't even know why I even had to mention that. So, yeah, more late night ramblings for me, I guess. So I want to know what the Red Sox are going to be doing next, since They have obviously done things out of order sometimes, and it's sometimes bitten them in the ass where they haven't been able to get, another deal done at the end of the day. Alex Bregman, even though that one ended up actually probably working out a little bit better. And am obviously very excited. We'll do a full episode tomorrow. We will do a trade special after the deadline. We'll probably just do it on Monday, the 3rd, sometime after that. Maybe see if we can even get a little fun guest for that. Who knows? But for right now, vibes are good with this team. Hey, we've still won 16 of our last 20. And, since the start of July, we've lost, 3, maybe 4 games at this point. So feeling very good about this team. And this shows that we're buyers. I can't believe we're saying this. Imagine saying this on June 30th, that we would be going out there and trading Connolly early for Curtis Mead, because at that point, that would have just seemed stupid. So it's a very good position to be in. I am excited that we are acting with a bit of aggression since we're trying to set the market. If this is a guy that we truly, identified, we wanted, we knew we got, and is under team control for several years still, I think he's even still pre-arb. So I'm willing to, give him a chance. I want to, obviously have him do well here in Boston. We were missing our Australian after Liam Hendricks, disappeared after last season. So, that's really about it I can think of off the top of my head. Not used to doing these solo ones. Not sure when this is going to be uploaded, but thank you everybody for tuning in. Hey, Saturday night we have 227 people currently in here, so make sure give us a like, give us a follow. Maybe if this is your first time, even watching an episode like this. Always appreciate it. Shout out Believe Network for, hosting us and sponsoring us. I'm not sure where this ad break it will get put in at a certain point of the episode. But we will be back soon. Not 100% sure if it's going to be Sunday or Monday. But I'm sure, I hope even that we will have to have another emergency breaking episode, just because I want this team to add. I want them to go all in. I want them to keep winning baseball games, and I think this is a move that will help you out in the immediate. There's no doubt about that. It's going to help you out in the immediate, and we'll go from there. And yeah, I guess that's it. Well, I love you guys. Bye. And have a good night.